October 31st is known to many as Halloween. What you were not told is that October 31st holds the key to many monumental events throughout history, including the beginning of the founding of the modern-day Israel. Christian Zionists from across the world have contributed to the establishment of our state. Many have died and gave their lives for this cause. Join us and learn more about why this date is special.
It's phenomenal to imagine that in 1917, on October 31st, you have two major events which led to the rebirth of Israel happening on the same exact day. Of course, that's those Anzac light horse battalions, British Empire against Turkish Empire. At the same time, you have this drafting of the Balfour Declaration, also 1917, October 31st. Let's look at those both side by side really quick, and we're going to go to look at the battlegrounds. We're going to go look at what these horsemen galloped against Turkish machine guns, and Christians like, Mr. Allenby, General Allenby, with his sword outstretched, charging against Turkish machine guns. It's just phenomenal. We're going to go to the gravesite and see how they gave their lives. But for now, let's look at the very interesting occasion of Lloyd George, Prime Minister of England. He's been to Sunday school, okay? And so there he is in the war room underground in London, right? England, he says, my English accent isn't that great, but he's like, excuse me if you will, come in here. Foreign Minister, what's your name? Right, my name is Balfour. Right, get in here, please. We have to win this war. Because they're fighting against the Nazis, you understand? And so in comes Lord Balfour, and he's like, what would you have me do, sir? Right, I want you to draft a declaration, you see. What kind of declaration do you think they're drafting? Let me tell you what it is. It's, we will use our best endeavors as an empire, as the British Empire, to prepare a homeland for the Jewish people right here in the biblical promised land. Why would they do that in the middle of this war, in this war room, as they're getting bombed by Nazi Germany? And it doesn't make any sense. But it makes sense when we know that God has used and continues to use heroes like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, like Corrie ten Boom, like so on and so forth, all the way through history to modern day, even in ancient history like Cyrus the Great, to fulfill God's prophetic plan. And that happened today on October 31st. Now join with me, if you will, to see where General Allenby, Anglican Christian general, led troops to also win in Beersheba, Battle of Beersheba, and also here in the Galilee, right next to the Aliyah Return Center at the shores of the Sea of Galilee, right alongside the Jordan River. Let's go check it out. Hey, welcome to the Balfour production. It's a night of heroes, October 31st. Okay, this is a convergence of what God's doing while the world's doing something else. The God of Israel is doing something, and heroes are arising. So glad to discuss a convergence of dates. Hey, Martin Luther, back when he loved Israel and the Jewish people, nailing those theses on the door of the church. All right, what about Kaiser Wilhelm II, all right? The Chancellor, recognizing Jerusalem. What about the Anzac Light Horse battles, 1917? What about the last draft of the Balfour Declaration, which led to the rebirth of the State of Israel? Let's have some fun. Friends, welcome to the Tzemach train station. Okay, it's right near the Sea of Galilee, right next to the Aliyah Return Center. Here is where heroes fell in the plan of God, really, to liberate this land and to make way for Israel to be born. I'm talking First World War, okay? We had here, you can see some Aboriginals from Australia. There was Australians, there was New Zealanders, okay? There was British people. The story that unfolds here involves Germans, Jews, Arabs, New Zealanders, Australians, British, everybody's involved in this story. And this statue here of this horse and this horseman, light horse rider, do you know what it's called? It's called, I'll read it to you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man would lay down his life for his friends. This man's not Jewish, okay? This man's a Christian. There's a Bible, okay? He's got a Bible in his hand and he loves Israel. He loves the people of the Bible. And it was dangerous. All right, you see what's happened over here? This is actually part of the Hijaz Railway. You could see behind me some of the Hijaz, that's the Muslims, the Turkish railway line. You know, Lawrence of Arabia was blowing some of that up over across in Jordan, down in Saudi. So the Hijaz, look, it says it right there. Hijaz Railway in Hebrew. See this? So you have, it's Arabic. It's written in Arabic on here, okay? Now this is Arabic script. Now what happened is the Christians who came here on the very day, what is it? Yes, 31st of October. And there was a battle in Beersheba, okay? Later there was a battle here at the Sea of Galilee. And they said, we gotta stop, we gotta end their transportation. They're bringing guns, they're bringing missiles, they're bringing things in these train cars. And the Muslims will win unless we just stop the trains from going. And so there was a great battle. And that happened on October 31st. That the ANZAC, that's Australian New Zealand Army Corps, Australia New Zealand Army Corps, ANZAC, okay? And it was led by Christians like Allenby, Christians like General Godley. Okay, these are awesome people who came, swords drawn, and they charged the embankments here. See, this is the train track. And what happened is the Muslims, the Turkish Empire, so it's empire against empire, all right? There's a clash of empires. So it's those, now let me tell you, I gotta stop right there and I gotta read to you Isaiah 49. Boom, Isaiah 49, it says, listen to me, O islands, O people far off. Okay, God has fashioned you like your mouth like a sword, and and he talks about like a polished javelin, okay, to do my will. What does it say? To bring the Jew, to gather the remnant of Israel. Is it too small a thing for you to be my servant, to gather, you know, to the dispersed people of Israel? Well, God's asking not Jewish people to do this. He's asking for people who know the Messiah to be part of this. So these people were Christians, okay, they were Anglicans and whatnot, and they came from the islands afar off. New Zealand, Australia, the British islands, right? And attacked here, and you had the Muslims with machine guns like this. I mean, they had the one that goes like this. And you know what they said? They said, General Allenby, he says, now charge. And he just took out his sword and he led these horsemen. The last time horses were ever used in a battle, and they charged against the machine guns. 74 of them died right here in the Galilee, many more in Beersheba, but they won. And an empire of the Muslims fell, and the Turkish Empire was ended. British Empire was instated, but you know, it was being drafted, as I said earlier in the studio. What was being drafted on the very day, October 31st? They had review after review. Chaim Weizmann, our first president, he's like, guys, we need to have a homeland, okay? And you got people who were like, what is it, Lord Huxley? No, that was later. You had these different British people who were saying yes or no. As you can see, there were a lot of elements leading up to the Balfour Declaration, which was then declared on the 2nd of November. But on the 31st is when the final draft happened. That's what I'm saying. If you look at the cabinet minutes, there was many drafts, and the final draft that was done was on the 31st of October, and that's where you have different forces like Chaim Weizmann, who became the president of Israel, people that were against, forces that were against what was called Zionism, biblical Zionism, to fulfill the prophecies of the Bible. And on that day in the War Cabinet, Foreign Secretary Mr. Balfour, okay, came in, Lord Balfour, and under the command of an Anglican Christian, Prime Minister Lloyd George, while they're in the bunker, they wrote, we will use our very best endeavors to make this land once again a homeland for the Jews as it was thousands of years ago. The plot thickens, my friends, because empires are disposed of on this date. It's very strange, and it has to do with Israel. What we're trying to say here at the Aliyah Return Center is God has a plan for Israel, and it has to do with Aliyah. And there's nations that go against that, and there's nations that will support that, and there's judgment, you know. And it seems very strange that this date In 475 was the end of an empire, the end of the Roman Empire, 475 AD. And you have there Romulus Augustus is disposed by Orodacer. And you have really the end of the Western Roman Empire. And you have something, you just have an empire crumbling that was ruling the world. Okay, you go on and you have later in 675, you have Mecca, and you have Muhammad coming, and the entire, Mecca, Medina, the empire, that thing's destroyed on October 31st. Okay, and then Islam rises. Let me tell you what happens when Martin Luther goes and nails on this date, on October 31st. Okay, nails on the doors of the Catholic Church, and he says, I'm telling you 95 things. You can't be charging money for people to get baptized. You can't be this and that and this and that. We want to be free people. And then of course these people, Puritans, and they were separatists, and they went and founded America. And they said, we want to go away from tyranny. We want to serve the God of Israel. I wish that Martin Luther would have nailed 96 theses on that door. I wish Martin Luther would have said, hey guys, Catholics, the other problem? You don't recognize God's plan for Israel. You don't recognize Jerusalem. You don't recognize the Aliyah story. You don't recognize that God is the God of Israel, and He's still alive, and He's still doing things. And we, as the followers of the Judeo-Christian way, need to love and bless and support Aliyah and houses of prayer, waiting for that day when the great house of prayer will return the temple. And we know that's promised. Now, what I want to say is that happened on October 31st. You know what the world's busy doing on October 31st? Dressing up like witches and demons. Come on. And now you know that Merlin was, that people say these druids who brought these stories of the thin layer between the underworld and they said the veil is thin and they can come through and they can go and mess with you. So if you're smart, you'll have a trick, they'll come to you and to curse you, and you can give some food to them. So make sure you have food. And if you don't want to have food ready, well, put some sort of scary face to scare them off on October the 31st. This is a bunch of distraction from what we're talking about, okay? I don't care if Merlin was a druid. I don't care if even that was out of Israel, out of Jeroboam's kingdom, doing this stuff in the groves and this false worship, okay? We're coming back to a clear line. Who's going to do false stuff, fake news, and who's going to do real news, okay? Jeroboam and all those people, some people say that they became the Druids and they got kicked out and they went into Europe and they started all these fake, false worship things. Well, let me tell you what, the real God of Israel lives, and He's got a plan for you and He's got a plan for me. We at the Aliyah Return Center are part of His prophetic plan, written all throughout the Bible, and it has the word, this promise of the return of the Jewish people, and we're here to help them. The Aliyah Return Center was founded to help the sons and daughters of Abraham in making their Aliyah, their return to the Promised Land, while at the same time educating nations from across the globe to the biblical significance of supporting Aliyah and being trained as ambassadors for Israel, practically applying the prophetic scriptures. Throughout the years as a charity, we've been able to help thousands of immigrants return and be integrated into this land by providing them complimentary lodging and a whole lot more. To find out more and to participate, go to aliyahreturncenter.com today. When I think of heroes, I think of people like Blackstone, like Corrie ten Boom, people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and people like the Anzacs. I mean, look at these mortar holes, huh? Look at how they gave their life. I mean, here, I think 75 lives were lost just in this place in the Galilee. I'm not even talking about the Beersheba battle. But you could sort of see how some of the refugees, some of the fighters traveling. It's amazing to see how heroes can arise, and the heroic deeds that they do shapes generations to come. And people now are only discovering the heroism of people. Like, you remember this Hijaz bridge? It's just over there, over the Jordan River, on the lowest place, 257 meters below sea level, over the Jordan River. You have later the Palmach, the Irgun, the Lehi, the Haganah, but the Palmach went and blew this up in the night of the bridges and helped actually win a war. It's amazing to see the different things which led to the birth of Israel. Imagine with me for a minute that it is 1917 again, huh? It's the very day, October 31st, that Martin Luther nailed the theses on the church door. It says, enough's enough. The very day, the very time when Kaiser Wilhelm was in Jerusalem saying, we respect, as then a world power, we respect Jerusalem. Imagine it's the very, very day of, the overthrow of the Roman Empire. Imagine it's that day now, which is the very day of the Battle of Beersheba, October 31st, 1917. Okay, the very day where that war cabinet is busy writing the Balfour Declaration, okay? That's now. And you have Edmund Allenby, okay, general, Christian, leading the charge, all right, with the Australians, with the New Zealanders, all for Israel to be born, all right? You know what happened is, there was the 4th Division of the Light Horse Brigades and the 12th Division, and guess what? They were out of water. It's the last time horses were used in a battle. And so they had swords drawn, and these horses charged on their own. It's in the history books. They were looking for the water. They wanted to get to the water. And they actually got there, cutting off the Turkish Empire troops. And they won the battle, in short. The battle that happened here near the Sea of Galilee was later. But those events led to the victory where we stand today. Now, some people start their journey with us by downloading the Aliyah scriptures. We have a 64 Aliyah scripture starter. One a day keeps the corona away. I'm just kidding, but the great physician does prescribe one a day in the morning, taken with water, for a healthy prophetic lifestyle. We want to send that to you. So in the comments, just write 64 Aliyah scriptures. That's 64 Aliyah scriptures. Write it in the comments below. We want to get you your starter kit. Absolutely. And we believe that people need to be praying into God's prophetic purposes. One of the things that we have here is we have a school. We call it the Academy, the Ambassador Academy. And when we look at the different heroes, like those who I mentioned, like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, like even Allenby, like Lord Balfour, people like Lord George, people like Truman, right? And the people we've spoke of, and we believe that those are Christian Zionists. They're Zionists, they're not Jewish, and they love Israel, and they love what they see God's got going in the Galilee. So we call this the Ambassador Academy. We invite you to be part of it. If you can't get here physically, we usually host 3 schools a year, and they're of different variation of time. But you're welcome to join even online. Start by clicking on Ambassador Academy. Start by clicking on discipleship. Just see what how it is, what we teach and what we share. I think that it's going to be time to make a choice, and you can't make a choice unless you know the truth. Now's the time to know the truth and to walk in the truth together. So God bless you from the Galilee. Thank you so much for taking this time with us and looking at some of the mystery of October 31st and of the Balfour Declaration. The Ambassador Academy. We've provided this educational experience like none other to equip, just as Jesus Yeshua equipped the disciples, to equip leaders from around the world to understand what God is saying as it relates to Israel. Yeshua spoke in Acts chapter 1, verse 8 and said, "You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth." We can't forget the first 3. We want to take you throughout this land, the best classroom in the world, and look at not only what God did, but what He's doing today and what He will do in the 4 realms. Government, since Ezra and Nehemiah in 120, till today, understanding the Knesset Parliament, 120, and knowing the government He's building. Number 2, military, since Joshua and the campaigns, to today, modern day miracles, and what is He doing as He establishes an Ezekiel army. Number 3, pioneering, since planting the first trees, Ben-Gurion, to today, the pioneering that exists and pioneers of the end times, and people of faith throughout the past, like Abraham, to people of faith today, and what is God doing as faith arises throughout the world. We want to invite you to join us for one of our ambassador programs and become the leader God wants you to be. Don't hesitate, apply today. Welcome to the Great Rift Valley. Yes, it's all volcanic. It's the Great Rift. It goes all the way down to Kenya. Okay, and this rift goes up to Syria. It's the Syrian African fault line, okay? And it's all volcanic. It's black stone, it's basalt, that's volcanic rock. It's the first thing built, it's the water tower. Everybody needs water in the Middle East. And look at that, from a total desolation, you now have the #1 agricultural area of the entire Israel, the Galilee, okay? That is all a fulfillment of prophecy, Isaiah 35, verse 1. Read it. The desert, the wilderness place is going to bloom and blossom like the rose. Yeshua said, I'm the water of life. You know, if you drink of the water I give you, you never have to thirst again. And it's not about Turkish Empire or about British Empire or even about it's about the Commonwealth of Israel drinking of that living water and having peace in this world. That comes through the Messiah, the living water. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for spending this time with us and looking at the different ways that people approach this land and our capital, Jerusalem, and the destiny and the prophetic word. It's interesting to say, how will we rank in our, portion of history, in our unfolding prophetic destiny? Well, today, on October 31st, I want you to think of nothing else but God's prophetic plan and how we together can continue to fulfill the outworking of His destiny for each one of us as sheep nations. And it doesn't sound initially attractive, sheep nations, but they're the ones who hear and love the shepherd's voice and follow where he leads. So let's be sheep nations working together with Israel, together as this moment, heroes of today arise and say, we stand with, we bless, we are part of helping with Aliyah and helping with the return and restoration of the Jewish people to the land of Israel.